Welcome everybody to Everything Websites. My name is Stefan. I'm your host, and my today's guest is Mason Poe. Mason is managing partner. I think it's partner, right? And Edgar Allan. And okay. Mason, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. Thanks for having me. And I've really been enjoying, your post on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that you were going to have a podcast, I jumped in and I was like, "Hey, man, I'd love to be on your podcast." So
Yeah,
thanks for including me.
that was fun. No problem. I mean, always it's a pleasure, really. I also think I found somewhere that you're also a co-founder of Edgar Allan. Is that true?
So Edgar Allan was started about 14 years ago. We had sort of initial crew that were getting started on paper. I'm kind of the primary person. I've always called myself the managing member because I don't it feels weird to be like, oh, I'm a CEO, or I think sometimes people are so quick to have like a one person business and then call themselves CEO. And I am not I don't report to a board. I view myself as a builder. I view myself
like
as
you have a board.
yeah. So I view myself as just someone who really likes to build things. I have a lot of ideas, and I really like to find people that have unique strengths and how we can sort of put all those things together, right? How we can put ideas, people together to help build things that are interesting out there in the world.
Did you guys always working with the websites, or because it says started 40 years ago? And I think I also found that you're one of the first Webflow agencies, actually.
Yeah, we started as kind of like a design consultancy with the idea that we wanted to move into digital products. We knew that the internet was going to be changing. It's always changing. But to try to look at it through the lens of story was sort of the thesis. We only adopted Webflow because I was so frustrated with what it was like to build for the internet about 12 years ago. And, and there's a lot of kind of like a younger crew. So, like a lot of younger people that are building in Webflow today. But at the time, there wasn't like a really good way to move from, at that time, Photoshop into the web. And it was a lot of like redlining and measurements and going back and forth with development teams and tickets and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, if we have to do this forever, like we're never going to have a breakout moment. We're never going to really do anything that's any fun, right? And so if we were to try to honor the thesis, which is how can great products have great stories, we need to be able to work in an environment that's flexible, because oftentimes people confuse storytelling with having a great story. But I think having a great story really starts with listening. And then once you listen and understand a challenge that, a company or a customer is facing, then you need to be able to have something that's really malleable to have that out in the world and then have those cycles. So that was how we had started. And we definitely grew up alongside of Webflow. I think when we started working with Webflow, it's about 20 people. When we were submitting support tickets, Bryant and Vlad were often the ones responding. And, it was kind of funny. And it's interesting. One of the reasons why we adopted Webflow was I was looking for a platform where we could bring a lot of people together to, some people that were going to be more design oriented, people that were going to be development oriented or content. And I looked at all these platforms and there's so much kind of like hype and marketing bull, like I'll kind of curtail my language here, but there was a platform called Macaw, and Adobe had Muse and Squarespace and all this stuff, and they were just all horrible. And I discovered I saw Webflow on something called Designer News. It was like an email newsletter that came out, and I was like, I don't know, this feels too good to be true. But anyway, I saw there was a video from that featured Sergi on how they didn't get into Y Combinator and how they really wanted to push this idea of democratizing the web and helping to kind of make that distance between idea and execution shorter. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like I just like Sergi. Like that was it. I was like, I like Sergi. I think this is the right approach. And I like the sort of underdog nature to what they're doing and what they're about. And so I started digging into Webflow University, and over the course of a weekend, built my first client site. And that
No,
was
you
for,
were doing it at a time.
yeah. I just taught myself, like, oh, box model. And I grew up doing design and development in Flash. So that's kind of like where
No.
my roots were. And I was like, oh, this is a lot like Flash. And I was like, oh, I know what happened to Flash and like how that grew into a whole amazing community and how it was so expressive and what was really wonderful about it. And then, Steve Jobs didn't like it, so it all went away. But anyway, I could see that this was going to be a really big thing. But it did take a long time for it to become a really big thing. So we've been, cranking away.
I don't think things are that fast as people might think. It's like, oh, I'm going to build an agency or a company. It's just like you're expecting a few years to be already huge,
Yeah.
but taking way, way longer than you ever can possibly imagine to
Yep.
turn into something if you put in a lot hard work and dedication to this, really.
Yeah. And like I've been in the agency space for over 25 years now. And so sometimes I'll talk with people and they're like, oh man, like we're it's taking so long for us to grow or, whatever. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like it's okay that it doesn't just, happen overnight. And in fact, like there's so much risk that you assume whenever you're starting a business. Both like there's financial risk, emotional risk, like just personal, like all of this stuff. And I think it's actually better to grow that slowly and be able to
Yeah.
build a team around you to help manage that. And at the end of the day, like it's a relationship business. It's a relationship that you build with people that you work with, whether they're inside your company or outside your company. Your brand is part of your relationship. That's the promise that you make to, the world. And so I think that that's something that I'm really proud of, is that we haven't rushed anything and we've kind of been able to have the luxury of being on our own treadmill. But I would say that there's, been quite a few chapters and no shortage of challenges over the last 14 years. And I consider ourselves like very lucky on how we've been able to navigate that. And analogy is often sort of feeling like a frog jumping from one lily pad to the next, because it's like as soon as you land on one lily pad, it starts to sink and you have to jump to the next one before the one that you're on sinks. And so that's what's
there's so many things going on when you're on that path. There's so much sacrifice as well. But and you also need to pivot a lot of times, someone more than less than others. But yeah, I think it's all part of the journey, and you need to really go through all of that in order to fully understand how hard it is to build all of this stuff. And yes, there is a bit of luck, like you said, but I think it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah. And the other thing I would throw out there is that it's okay. So I started freelancing and I freelanced for like 3 or 4 years. And then I started kind of working for a company. And sometimes I hear people and they'll say like, oh, I don't want to give up and go work for a company. And if anything, I think that was one of my cheat codes, because I was able to go in first, have an understanding of like what it's like to work for yourself. And I think like that gives you a lot of appreciation to just know how hard it is.
Yeah.
Once that work gets to you, like how hard it was to be able to have that work, that was, it was attracted, it was, cultivated, it was sold, it was signed, it was, project managed, all that stuff by the time it would get to my desk. But I knew all like how difficult that was. And then I was able to kind of work with some larger agencies to see how they go and pitch and, what secret sauce do they add onto those PDFs to go and ask for $2 or $3 million? And that was literally, the thing that I saw was it wasn't, it's a process of storytelling. And another hack that I had when I was at Razorfish was, at the time I was doing Flash design and development. But anyone that was doing a new business pitch, I would raise my hand and say, hey, can I help format it? Can I just clean up your PowerPoint. And I
Yeah, that's a good
studied
way
those
to learn.
PowerPoints,
Yeah.
and I studied how they would craft a story, how they would, frame the assignment and build up tension and build up sort of like this world, and then at the end it had a price tag, but then it also had sort of like, this is not only the investment that we're looking for, but this is the outcome that we want to be able to drive towards. And so being able to work for another agency, it had its challenges, and I wasn't cut out for it long term. It gave me a really good perspective when we were getting all this stuff started, and I at that point had been able to hone my craft, and the things that I had to then figure out is project management, contracts, account
Yeah.
management, sales, like, and I had some of that experience, but I was able to at least get a perspective of what that looked like inside of another group.
I also noticed that some of our team members were freelancers, like small business owners.
Yep.
Some didn't, and
Mhm.
those who did much better understand the whole agency thing and appreciate the process and everything. And actually, it's like they're completely different people.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's a very huge difference. I think everybody should at least do some part of freelancing to understand how things work.
Yep.
And I understand it's not for everybody, but it's good to just learn and to see how things work on the other side.
I think they're both incredibly valuable, and
Yeah.
I if there's any challenge that exists today within the Webflow space, it's that there's just not enough agencies that can go in and have full-time jobs and be able to let people focus on their craft while they're learning the sort of business side of it. And so I hope that's something that changes, where freelancing is more of like a choice or the default, as opposed to or a choice instead of the default, which today it's kind of like, hey, if you want to work in Webflow, um, just go in and throw your name up on Fiverr and just get the shit beat out of you. And then, like, and you've got these bad customers, and you're not learning as fast, and it's hard to show off that work and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
I mean, yeah, there's like a handful of like true freelancers, so to call
Yep.
them, that they just chose to be there, that and works pretty good for them. But those are like very talented and unique people.
I, I
It's
I
kind
think
of
it's
very
off.
this.
Yeah, it's often the exception, and it's not to say that that's not a path. It's just that's often viewed as the only path.
Yeah,
So I I hope that starts to change as the market starts to mature. And I would say that there's often a concern that I've heard in the Twitter sphere or whatever around like the move to enterprise and what that's going to mean. And if anything, I think that's a leveling up, and I feel like it's allowing for companies to be formed that can then address those enterprise needs, that can then build out teams so that people can have the ability to focus on craft, understand, to learn the business, as opposed to just like starting on day one and trying to take on a whole lot of liability and uncertainty and all the
yeah,
pain that goes along with working independently.
yeah, yeah. That's true. You mentioned a little earlier the storytelling,
Mhm.
and I know that storytelling is actually the most underused sales skill in the
Mhm.
Webflow world. Uh, do you know maybe why it's like that?
Say it again. What's the most underused skill?
The storytelling.
Mhm. Well, I would say that the most underused skill is story listening.
Hmm.
Way too often, people jump on a call and then they just start talking,
Yeah,
and they haven't actually taken the time to understand what the challenge is. And all you have to do is just listen, understand the challenge, and then be like, awesome, I'm going to come back and create a solution for that challenge. Were you at FlowConf in Niche, or were you able to go to
yeah,
that?
I was, yeah. But we never actually met. I mean, there were so many people there. I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
who I
Uh,
didn't,
It
but I
was,
know you from there. Yeah,
yeah, it was incredible. And shout
yeah,
out to like, the Flow Ninja guys
yeah.
and Euros
Good
and
for them.
everything. So cool for them to put that together. Also, Serbia is just a beautiful country. and I was able
Okay.
to go and spend some time in Belgrade, and then we took a road trip down to Niš, and like, man, I love rakia now. Like, I've never had food as good as I did when I was
Yeah.
out there. I had developed a big belly because
Yeah.
we would go to these dinners, and it was just like, oh man. Um, yeah,
We
I'd be
eat a lot of
curious.
meat, actually.
Well, all of it. Like, I big hearty meals is the theme. But I'm curious, what were your thoughts from, because I gave a talk on selling is helping, and any feedback from me or things that you
Oh,
took away or you'd want to dig
be
into more.
honest, I don't really remember. I forgot most of this stuff that happened. No, no, yeah, but I agree on you on this story listening thing,
Yeah.
because I also been there. I think that's like a beginner mistake. That
Mhm.
everybody, when they jump on a call, always just wanna talk,
Yep.
and you just really need to ask question and just let them talk, and they're gonna tell you everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um and I think it's a way to look at, so within the talk I gave, I was talking about the ways to listen. And there's the listening that we can do ahead of the call, which is digging into their world, looking at their site, starting to pull audits, getting a sense of what can we understand from the outside. And then by the time we get on the call, we can, ask some questions around, what they're doing. Like, why is this important now? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? How is this going to benefit the company? And then, yeah, and then go in and start to create a plan for action that could be used within that second call. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's something that it does take a little bit of time, and I think you can get nervous, and I can get nervous sometimes. Like right now I'm just sitting here chit chatting whatever, but
But yeah, and we are off what we should be talking about.
yeah.
But that's fine. I think
Yeah.
it's a good energy.
So, but anyway, yeah. So what would you think of, like, what are the things that you would add to that in terms of, the value of story within the sales process?
Oh, well, I didn't think about it. Um, I don't know. I just think it's important for to uh, prepare well, just to learn as much as possible about the person you're gonna meet.
Yep.
And just like I said, I think you just need to ask the right questions and listen, and try to solve a problem. Actually, try to see what is the problem, and not solve it right away, but at least point it into direction where maybe they didn't think about it,
Mhm.
or something that they didn't even know that they have, and that is a problem that they need to maybe solve first before
Mhm.
doing anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, this is at least how I do things. I don't know if that's the best approach,
Yeah.
but yeah, it doesn't work always.
Well, I think that's the formula right there.
Yeah,
And it's not that it doesn't work. It just might, you know, you can go and have the perfect pitch in the perfect market and still not win every piece of business. And I think that's just the nature of how we go about and what we do.
yeah.
Um, I was curious from you. I don't know what you have on the agenda, but I've gotten to know you just through LinkedIn and really been, impressed by what, you know, the ideas that you've brought there and kind of how you've been thinking about things. What have you been learning from LinkedIn? What's been working for you?
I think generally, like posting something doesn't need to be a social media, but can be also blog, because I
Yep.
also write one part of our blog.
Okay.
That push you to learn, because you would need to learn about topics and stuff in order to speak about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and if I don't do that, I don't think I will know as much as I know. I don't know a lot, but as much as I know so far, I don't think I would know that much if I don't do that. And I think that's a one positive thing about
So,
posting and social media,
so what are
engaging with.
you, where are you studying? What's your source material?
Oh, I just scrap everything. I don't read as much as I want to. I read more last year,
Okay.
but I just go over to the websites and
Cool.
read. I read a lot of blogs actually.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's also this website, AirOps. Maybe you
Mm.
know them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a pretty good blog.
Yeah.
I like their resources, and I was just started. I was impressed of everything they do, and start to learn, especially for this AI, because
Hmm.
there's so many things you could do on your websites to improve it, and
Hmm.
and to push it for AI search to cite your website, for example. And many of these things that we applied were pretty good. I mean, we got a lot of leads out of this stuff. So all these things kind of push me to even learn more and
Okay.
and go further. Even if I have design background, but now I'm more in a SEO and development stuff that I didn't do before. But
Yeah.
things all change. Who know what's going
What
to happen?
have you used AirOps, or have you used
No, no.
any?
I was
You
just yeah, no, I was just reading their stuff. I didn't use the platform. You did?
Uh, I've been checking it out, and they also have a good Slack channel. So,
No. Okay, I
um,
didn't know that.
just started to dig into there, and Jessica, I can't remember her last name. Used to be at Jasper, and she used to be at Webflow,
Hmm.
and now is over at AirOps. And so I imagine, she always brings such a great
She's in
perspective and
marketing.
vision. What's that?
She's in marketing.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm looking forward to seeing like how their go-to-market will evolve with her
Yeah,
leadership there. So um,
I
should
think they
be,
got doing a pretty good job,
yeah.
and
I mean, they're already doing a great
one of
job,
the
so I
best
think
that they.
it'll, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's nice, nice. Okay. I want. I mean, I would try to from time to time go into the agenda. So let's
yeah,
see how far we can go.
yeah. Well, I
Um,
would say that half of it's just having a conversation,
yeah.
and but yeah, let's jump in. We'll rapid fire. We'll speed run the agenda.
No, no, no. That's fine. I mean, if we open some other different topics and talk about
Yeah.
something, that's very fine. Yeah,
And I'm
we don't
happy
need.
we'll schedule again. So if we don't get through everything, happy to come back on as you'd like
No problem.
to continue.
No problem. Yeah. Okay. So, because we were talking about the freelancers and
Mhm.
agencies and stuff, and since you were there from the beginning, so to say, I mean, you're for a long time in agency business. So, what do you think is the difference between the smaller and the larger agencies, the ones um, that have projects for a few $1,000s, between the ones that have for a few $100,000 projects?
Well, I'd first back up and say,
It's a broad
what's
question, but
yeah, yeah. What I'd first back up and say, like, maybe the difference between freelancing and starting an agency. And I think when you're freelancing, it's about, okay, I have a skill um, that I'm very good at and I can bring to a customer. And then the separation when you start to build an agency, I think there's a thesis that you want to be able to prove out in the world. There's a perspective that you want to be able to explore and see if that really resonates and how that operates within the market. And so I think that you can be a one person freelancer, you can also be a one person agency, and just the difference is what is the ideas there. So is it an idea of like, I'm going to execute against work and I'm going to be fantastic at that, or I'm going to execute against a um, a question that I want to explore.
Mhm.
And then from there, it's 1,000 little things. And I mean, it's like, yeah, we could. I mean, go and get a website built today for a few $100, a few $100,000, or over $1 million. And like, there's a lot of um, overlap between what those outputs are going to look like. I mean, they're probably
Mhm.
all going to be websites. They're all going to be in HTML. They're all going to be, whatever. Um, but I
It's the
think that
same.
the difference is um, one of the things that if we were to look at on as you scale up, it's how is one team going to pair with another team, and so that starts with legal, like what's the type of liability that a company can take on. So if you're working within fintech or healthcare or something along those lines, then you might have to be SOC 2 compliant, or you might have to have some type of, formalized project management approach or things like that. Um, and then it's, maybe how are you going to indemnify someone? Like, how are you going to make sure that it's almost like an insurance policy, like an agency becomes kind of an insurance policy for a type of work. Um, and then there's just pageantry. So someone wants to be able to take to their boss that, like, hey, we've got, the best in the world, and this is the group, and this is the type of work that they've done before, and everything like that. So there's definitely like a non-logical part of this where
Mm,
it's like, yeah, we could probably go and hire 20 other smaller groups to be able to do the same thing that we're going to go and pay like one large group to be able to do.
mm,
But what is the like what is the sort of internal story that's being told? So I don't know. That's like a long way of going about, like, I mean, and there's all of these different stratospheres and all of these different ways of building for the web, and I don't think that any one way is probably best. And in fact, like, I feel really good about the position of a lot of the agencies within the Webflow space, because I feel like they see where the future is going,
mm,
whereas a lot of the established, you know, WPP held agencies are sort of holding on to something that's going away. They're holding on to this idea that you kind of build it once, or that it has to be built on a really complicated framework, or, that you have to go and bring like 20 people to a project, or that it has to take 9 months, and all this type of stuff. And I think that
yeah,
there's a group of people, and you and I both know and admire them, and we're within that world of, well, let's look at this a little bit differently. Let's still go and become obsessed about the customer, but let's
mm,
think about, are there opportunities to find efficiencies or ways that we can do things in a different way that's going to go and meet that same outcome.
yeah. I mean, obviously there's like a lot of different ways, um, and also depends on the website complexity. For example, itself, Webflow is a good platform, but there also some limitations to it.
Hmm?
Um, and also, yeah, how big of a project you're gonna have also depends on a lot of things. It's not
Yes.
only positioning, but it's also connections. A lot of companies tend to work with the same uh, agencies or people
Hmm?
they know, and that dictates the price as well.
Yeah.
For example, I think that's one of the main reasons why Pepsi managed to, there's a couple of years ago when they uh, charged the logo like $1 million or
Oh,
something like.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons, because that was the agency that more like a corporation that worked
Mhm.
with them for a long time,
Yep.
and they didn't want it to change it, and they asked that much, and I know they know the value. Actually, it's all about the value in
Well,
the end.
it's value, but it's also, I think, something that's often misunderstood is, whenever you're going through that type of change, and it could be a new logo or it could be a new website, you're really managing change in the organization. And that's why I'm saying, like, you almost have to have teams that can pair up with their teams. And so if you're
Yeah,
working with a smaller company that has a one person marketing team, or a 5-15 person marketing team, that's going to be different than working with a
yeah,
500 person marketing organization, where it's all about helping them understand where the business is going. So in that case, you're really becoming more of like a business consultant, or an agent of change that just happens to have at the other side of this, the exclamation point of a new logo or the exclamation point of a new website.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I mean, I don't know. It's yeah, depends on a lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
But I just wanted to ask these things
Yeah.
to get people think about this stuff,
Yep.
and
Yeah. I think the takeaway here is, first off, if I was to, provide advice here, it's that, at the end of the day, it's sort of, how do we solve for the customer problem? Also, it's math, right? A lot of times people will underbid their projects because
yeah,
they haven't gone and taken into full consideration all of the things that have to happen to deliver something. And so what we try to do is we create these excruciating like spreadsheets of detail on all the different things that we're going to do and when we're going to do that, and then when we're going to expect reviews and all this stuff. And we do that to be able to show the overall time commitment and involvement that's going to happen on both sides. And then finally, just like what's the story and position that you're putting out there into the world, and then how is it that you start to get invited into some of those RFPs or into some of those opportunities.
Hmm. And why? I mean, well, one of the questions, my follow-up questions, to this would be like, how do you handle? Maybe this maybe can be two ways. How do you handle objections, or uh, how do you handle if someone maybe does not, it's not fit for you,
Mhm.
not it's you for them, but you
Sure.
know.
Uh, yeah. So I would say the first way to handle objections is to flip the idea that an objection is not a rejection. It is simply an opportunity to pivot and take a step back and learn. And so that's where I often think, well, what can we do to help better position this so that we can help them say yes, or that we can say collectively, this maybe just is not the right fit for either one of us. And so getting to know their business or getting to a know of like, this isn't the right fit is one of the things that we look at when we're going through a new business process. And then sometimes, yeah, you do get within a project and um, we work really hard to build the soft skill communication elements so that when times get difficult, that there's at least an open door, sort of like, or there's a way to be able to address the the emotions within a project. And I've often seen that it doesn't have anything to do with the agency or even the clients. Sometimes there's just you know pressures that are being put on, or anxiety that can be felt about
Mm,
this particular type of project. So I think trying to understand that anxiety and address it at the root cause of what's going on within this human as opposed to just the organization is probably the best way that we've worked to address that. But I will say that it's not always easy. It's very rarely easy. It does take a certain skill set. It's not something that even everyone on our team can address.
yeah,
Um, we have people that are in more senior positions, quite frankly, because they can manage those tough client conversations that can come up from time to
hmm,
time. So that's
that's like,
really, yeah,
yeah,
that's probably the way of looking at the objections as well as when there's not a fit or when we need to be able to address the anxiety.
yeah. I think it's good that you always try to learn from all this stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, yeah, and sometimes, yeah, they just don't work for each
Yeah.
other. I mean,
Sometimes
uh,
just it is
yeah,
what it is.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. But even if you were not the right choice, one of the things that we do, for example, is send them like a questionnaire, like a quick
Mm,
one. Not all of them want to fill it up, but it can help us understand what was the main reason they didn't want
mm,
to go with us, or there's like a couple of things there, and we always try to improve is also that one,
mm.
just to understand what was the reason, and what who were their choice. Maybe I just think we should just ask as many questions as possible,
Yeah.
and even direct questions like, do you talking with someone else as
Mhm.
well? I mean, are we a good fit? I mean, how do you feel right now
Yep.
about us? I think it's good because you'll also know, if nothing else happens, how you stand.
Yep.
So better to know sooner than later.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah. And
that's how.
even, I mean, I think asking some of those types of questions on the call can
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
way to one, learn, but also get them to verbalize where they can say, like, no, yes, I really do like talking with you, or, oh, I do have this concern. And if you can address that on a call, then it's going to be way easier than something that could fester in the background or, you know, potentially
Yeah.
divert the deal.
The Chris though, he
Yeah.
always, yeah, he always say like, actually he even pushed to ask about the price, about the
Hmm.
budget, one of the first questions.
Yep.
So that you're just gonna save everyone's time.
Yeah.
And many times also happened to me that I've spent like a half an hour speaking with someone, and they
Yep.
understand their budget is way off
Yep.
whatever, your what you work with.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it's also one of the more important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we'll talk with someone a little bit. We can see, like, all right, what type of company are they coming from? What's the sort of uh, the market value of that company, and then that'll give us like, okay, yes, no, we should be in the ballpark. And yeah, if they don't know how to budget this themselves, then they're definitely a group that we'd just be like, okay, we we should probably not work together, because if you can't put this budget together, then you
Sometimes they don't want to say it. I mean, I
yeah,
don't like this game, really like, okay, you have a budget, you just tell them whatever. You do have a budget. I mean,
yep,
whatever budget it is, you do have it.
sure,
And I don't know why people always try to play the game like they don't want to say it, that they
yep.
want you to say first. It's just, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times we won't respond if the RFP doesn't have a budget or if they don't give us a budget on the call.
Yeah.
So we'll just be like, hey, if you don't have a budget, then we really don't have anything to work
Yeah.
from. Because what we try to do is we say that we're going to work backwards from what your goal is and what your budget is. And so if we can understand those two things, then we can see, is there a match? And if there's not, then, we just move on and wish you the best on the project.
And I think that's a very good choice
Yeah.
to do something like that. Yeah, saves again a lot of time for all of them. I mean, for them, for you, for everybody.
For everybody involved, for sure.
Yeah. Also, do you think that it's good to talk about, for example, conversion uh, before everything else? Because I think that might, I mean, not might, that can affect a lot of things.
What do you mean, talk about conversion?
Conversion strategy before, maybe even before proposal.
Hmm. Yeah, what I want to understand is maybe what are the pain points they're experiencing currently in their business. Um, I think that we won't out of the gate guarantee like a lift in conversion or even talk about um, the specifics there. And the
Yeah.
reason is that we'd want to go through and understand, because they could say like, oh, we have really low conversion, and or we have really, high conversion, but it's like, well, so is it a percentage conversion that's really high, but you have really low traffic, or is this all just from friends and family? And so we will talk about like an optimization program that we can go and run. But for example, we can jump in and then say like, hey, we're gonna look at this high traffic, low converting page, and often it has nothing to do with the page. It's all about the upstream traffic that's
Oh,
happening. So it's all being driven off of some sort of brand campaign that has nothing to do with what they're trying to accomplish, or
yeah.
that's being run by someone different, or there's a PR campaign that is pointing back to the homepage or to a landing page or something like that. So that page could actually be performing correctly for the intended traffic, but not performing correctly for the actual traffic, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Many times it happens that the conversion is not there also not because of the website,
Yeah,
but because they are targeting the wrong people.
the wrong
In
people. Yeah, like the
you
wrong
have
people, wrong type of
PIC,
campaign. Yeah.
yeah, they just target someone completely different, and
Yep.
obviously they're not going to convert.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's important to talk about this stuff because that affects
Yep.
ultimate proposal.
Yeah.
But also there's like a lot of agencies. I don't know if you guys are focusing on that,
Mm.
on conversion,
Yep.
or because some agencies focusing only purely on design and development to have a cool stuff, things like that.
Yeah.
We were one of those, but not anymore.
Yeah.
So
Well, I feel like it's easy to get wrapped up in the awards game and be like, oh, if we just go and get something hot together and out there. Uh, but while like that can be cool, and it can feel really good, it often doesn't necessarily convert to business. So we've really focused on how do we get close to our customers' cash register? How do we get close to their business?
yeah,
And yeah, we start with brand strategy. Every project is really a brand project, and moving from brand strategy, build, design, um, launch, training, optimization, and optimization across, there's like multiple types of ways that people are optimizing now. So
Yeah.
conversion rate optimization, search engine optimization, answer engine optimization. So it's all around optimization.
Yeah.
And they work differently, right? But sometimes you need to define,
Exactly. In the
yeah,
end.
like you need to define the brand, because optimization is only a backwards looking process. So you're optimizing on what is there, and a forward looking process is where we can go and take some swings from a brand standpoint or from a story standpoint, and then from there look to see what we want to optimize or improve.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, uh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I wanted to wrap up this talk about the agencies. Um, what do you think is the future of the Webflow agencies? What do you think how Webflow agencies would be in most cases a couple years from now?
Well, I can't speak for all, but I can definitely speak for where we're going, which
Hmm.
is trying to look at the web as we would look at other pieces of media. And so if I think about the three core pieces of media as it relates to marketing and advertising, there is earned media, paid media, and owned media. And I think the website really fits within this owned media category. And there's been a lot of attention over the last, decade around paid on sort of like
Yeah.
how Facebook and all these platforms and, Google Analytics and, Google Tag Manager and like all like just the whole Google paid world this, how that can all work. And then from an earned media around like, oh, hiring influencers and going and having kind of like a big social presence and building up that type of momentum. And all those are really important. And I think now what's exciting is looking at the website not as a brochure or kind of just like a static brand asset, but as a
Mm.
real way to have owned uh, an owned media platform where you can have first party data, you can understand your customers in a really great way, that we can look at how those customers interact with our messages outside of these black boxes. And while paid media becomes more and more expensive, earned media becomes less reliable. We have, the sort of agent networks that are out there, and they're all black boxes. Like we can't really see, like there's not really good analytics into any of those. So,
No,
um,
I even
yeah,
heard. I even heard. Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah,
Um, that Google and all these big companies are gonna push back AI because people are getting information for free, and people who are paying for a positioning and stuff are gonna be less likely to pay. So they're
yep.
just gonna kind of like limit AI with the possibilities so that they can start, get back to earn on the positioning, all this kind of stuff.
Well, I mean,
I
I
don't know,
think
but
sure.
makes
I think
sense.
where we are, and it's interesting. I started my career as Google was starting as a company,
Mhm.
so, um, and I lived through the .com boom and bust. And one of my first jobs was actually clearing out office cubes from failed .coms. But I saw kind of Google come along, and at the time there was, you know, Alta Vista, Ask Jeeves, like all of these search engines. And now what we have is all of these like answer engines, which are different. But one of the questions for Sam Altman is like, can OpenAI beat Google before Google beats, it becomes OpenAI? So that's the that's one of the big questions. I don't think there's a good answer to that yet.
Yeah,
Um, but I think as marketers, it's a time where, again, owned media, really looking again, not just as like, I think just building the website is, that's going to be table stakes. And for a long time, we have been very clear that we're not going to be development only. I think that could be a mistake to try to build a development
yeah,
only
yeah,
business today.
that's for sure.
Um, Instead, we've looked at, again, how we can go and move from like define a brand, create the content, create the build, and then be able to optimize that as a center point to a larger campaign. And where I hope our position moves to is that we can step into more of a role of what I would see as the agency of record, that as the owned media agency, that we can be at the center of those other kind of paid and earned campaigns and really be truth tellers to what's happening there. Because oftentimes we'll be running analytics and we'll find fraud, we'll find click fraud, we'll find things that press releases that have been juiced, in a kind of unethical way.
Yeah.
And I think for us, we can help to connect the dots between that first visit to what's the total attributed value, and then how do we go through and improve everything to create that to be a virtuous cycle.
Yeah. We started actually as a design company,
Mhm.
and
Yep.
then we pivoted to both design development and all
Yep.
other stuff. And now we're more focusing on conversion.
Yeah.
And one of the main one of the biggest mistakes that we made is not working on our own website.
Yep.
And we are telling that to our clients, but we're not really doing it. Uh,
It
and
is a
once
common problem. It's not just you. Like, it's not just you.
Yeah, but once you start doing it, you see that there is a lot of potential, and you get a lot of organic leads and all of this stuff all of this juice that you didn't know. I mean,
Yep.
not that you didn't know it, but you just didn't pay attention to.
Sure.
That's now what we're trying to educate other people.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. And just so
So
you know, like, you're not the only one. Like, we've taken some big swings with our sites in the years past, but often it's like, oh, we've got some time, and it's like we work, 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 get a new site up, and then it's like, now I've got a bunch of work and we haven't touched our site now in a year. Now
yeah,
we're going back in, and I'm trying to do, you know, conversations like this at least once a week, being more diligent around getting
yeah,
blog posts up, getting more diligent about getting case studies and, all those types of things.
researchers in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we have some small team around it,
Uh-huh.
and I just think we're gonna probably expand on it
Yep.
because just makes sense. I mean, things just going pretty well when we are doing it,
Uh-huh.
so it just makes sense to continue doing it. And we're gonna do the same thing for our clients. Like,
Yep.
we're gonna be
Absolutely.
the guinea pigs, and whatever
Yeah.
works, we're just gonna do for everybody else.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like to call that working into the future so that we can bring back ideas for our customers so that they can learn from what we've seen out there in the market.
yeah. We tested a lot of different stuff, especially for this AI stuff.
Mm.
We even added this one button on our blog that can, when you click on a button, takes you to the ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
and summarize the article for you.
Oh,
But what
perfect.
that also does is once you do that, it's also put in your AI memory our
Yep.
website.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
like working both ways. We're
Oh, yeah.
testing it. Yeah,
Yep.
looks pretty good. And then, like we said, okay, works good. We can apply that to our client projects.
Yeah. Well, I know we just have a couple more minutes. What are you curious about that we can talk about to kind of wrap up the conversation?
Just so you know, I don't cut out anything from my podcasts. I like to
Oh no, I'm just teasing.
yeah. Yeah, I like people to see like the real. I don't like this fake stuff
Yep.
like everything
Yeah.
is cut and organized. It is what it is,
Totally.
and I think people love it. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to talk about some sales stuff,
Hmm.
but I don't know how much I know about this really. So maybe I can ask something, and yeah, maybe we
Yeah.
can.
How about this? Let's end on a sales question, and then I would be happy to come back on, and we could just have a session, which is digging into the sales process. What are we learning? How are we approaching stuff? If that's something
Yeah,
that you'd
sure.
be interested in.
Yeah, sure, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I'm all in for everything.
I know you sent over like the document you sent over. It was like, man.
Yeah, I always
Uh,
say it's a brief because I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know where I'm gonna end up,
oh yeah.
and yeah, what I'm gonna say. So let's just have something to know where we go.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One question. Okay, and then we're gonna end up with that. Um. Actually, I don't know what's gonna be because I have so many here. Uh. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. I just not gonna do it. I
Okay.
cannot.
Well,
No. Yeah.
then, I mean, if you're up for it, I'd be happy to, we could, put time on maybe in a couple weeks and
Sure.
just
Just to
go
prepare.
in on the sales side.
Yeah. Sure. I think people gonna love this. Because I know that many people, especially freelancers, but even the smaller agency companies, even the bigger ones, they don't know much about sales.
Yep.
And sales is like a big process of of
Sure.
every company. But yeah. Okay. For the end. Um, do you have anything to tell to the people? Any kind of message that you want to send?
Well, first, I just want to, Stefan, thank you for inviting me to come on and talk. And it's
Oh,
been great
I
to,
think it was really exciting and a nice conversation.
yeah, no, I mean, like um, I've enjoyed getting to know you through LinkedIn. And I would say that, LinkedIn is this platform that feels weird and awkward to post to. But it's
Yeah.
also, it's a great place to be able to meet people,
Mm.
and focus on topics related to business as opposed to other platforms where all of a sudden you can spiral out into who knows what. So
Yeah.
I would say that if people have questions, you can find me on LinkedIn, send me a DM. Um, one of the things that I'm trying to do is record something once a week, and if there's additional topics that we didn't have a chance to jump in today that maybe we don't want to talk about next time or don't fit into the sort of sales conversation, I'd be thrilled to address those sort of async. And
Maybe we can have a LinkedIn Live or something, but LinkedIn have a very bad video quality.
oh well, it's I
Yeah.
always do Riverside through LinkedIn, and then but even setting that all up, LinkedIn is also sort of a disaster. So give
Yeah.
yourself a break. I would say one way to think about posting on LinkedIn is to post like 5 things that are going to be helpful to other people. And then like one post that's maybe like, oh, this is something that we did. Cause a lot of times people will get on and just brag like, oh, I've got a new awesome thing. And nobody really cares about your awesome thing. Just
Yeah.
post something that's going to help people. And then every once in a while, post something that you've done that you're proud of.
You
So,
know that we even posted something on Reddit regarding, I don't really remember what. And one person saw that and tried. She tried that by herself, couldn't manage it, and they reached out to us and became our client.
oh,
And it's
there you
just
go.
like post that I posted
Yep.
something, about some free research that we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say that
never know.
while you and I have both probably not posted on our own websites as much as we want,
Mm.
getting things out there into Reddit and LinkedIn and even Twitter. Twitter I view as more of just like, that's the, I
Twitter
think it's like
is
it, it, it's
it's a
sort of a
bad.
cozy bar in a bad neighborhood. That's how I view
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's like,
It wasn't like that before, but now it's like,
eh,
yeah.
now it's a
I,
disaster. So again, I think I've got some really great friends that I follow on Twitter.
yeah,
And
sure.
I view it as, again, a cozy bar in a bad neighborhood. So you just don't know who's going to walk in, and you might
Yeah, yeah.
might get in a fight outside for no apparent reason. Um, but um, but yeah, so that's probably what I would kind of wrap up on, is to say, love to
Right.
continue the conversation. I just really enjoy talking about the business of business and being
Me
able
too.
to talk with people like yourself and learn from like what you guys have been doing. We actually, Bogdan on our team was looking at your LinkedIn post and then telling me what I need to do better based on your LinkedIn post. So,
Really?
oh
I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know.
totally.
Yeah, I don't. But I think you should post often. Maybe you do. I don't see your posts. So if you don't,
Yeah, we're scaling out how we're posting, and again doing LinkedIn Live once a week, and but then also I will get like really heads down. Like before Webflow Conf, I was posting a lot more, and then I got back from Webflow Conf, and I was just like, gotta deliver business, So I
yeah,
put blinders on.
yeah. Then maybe it's just me. I'll try to hit this notification. I don't know if that really have that, but just to make sure that when you post something, I can see it because I
Yeah,
don't really see.
awesome,
So yeah, this algorithm is really weird there. Anyway,
cool. Well,
thank you so much
yeah,
for all this conversation. I think I was really enjoying it. It was a bit
yeah,
different
same.
usually have, and I think it was pretty awesome.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep it
Thank you.
going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure out something kind of mid-November.
Yeah, sure, sure. Why not? Thank you
Awesome.
guys for listening. And if you like, yeah, you can. I mean, you don't need to. You just stay there. I'm gonna post it anyway on LinkedIn. Yeah. See you next time. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Stefan.